Hello and welcome to the Old Man Orange Podcast. I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
And I'm Ryan Dunigan.
We're back again for another 2001 Space Odyssey conference call.
I'm not sure if I'm ever going to get used to this.
Well, it's kind of weird. I do think about it a lot. It's just like, oh yeah, it's like, you go talk to your webcam. Because the way I remember webcams is I remember them like as a very scary thing back in like 1999. Because you would go on those like Yahoo chat sites, and every once in a while somebody would have a webcam, or they'd say like, oh, check out my webcam. So you'd click on it, let it load up for 5 to 10 minutes, and then all of a sudden there'd be this, like, it would show up and you'd be like, okay, let's see what it is. And they go like, what are you placing your bets on? I don't know. And then it loads up as just some fat chick just sitting there like, it's like, oh, she's still not typing, but for some reason I could hear her breathing. She's like, I may not be sexy, but I have a good mind. You're like, oh god.
It's one of those things like you already waited 5 to 10 minutes for this thing to load up. You're not going anywhere. You're gonna see how this rides out.
Well, yeah, it's just like you didn't know. It's just like, oh, somebody has a webcam. Oh, okay, let's see what this is all about.
If you had really bad dial-up, maybe it was 20 minutes just for it to load up. You're like, well, we already waited this long. Let's just see where this goes, you know? We may not like it. This may lead to like a horrible back alley filled with like...
This is a guy beating off. I'm like, oh, not that again.
Yeah.
I think that was still in the before like guys jerking off appeared on the other end of the cameras. There was a time when that wasn't that common.
Yeah, I always keep on. As soon as I got my Skype account, I got several invites from like Sassy Shake 71 and like Hot Lips 33 or whatever. But then I was like, no, I'm not going to take that chance. No, I don't need to see that.
I use my Microsoft account, so I haven't got a single invite. Did you use like a Facebook one or something to get it?
Yeah, I got it through Facebook. So.
Because I know my Microsoft account is not hooked up to anything but like my Xbox. So it's just like, oh, that's perfect.
Oh, okay. Okay, so you probably, yeah. No, I've only people I really have so far are just you and Marley. I was on Marley's podcast last week. His podcast, it's no longer the Cinephile, it's now the Water Cooler. So,
okay.
Yeah,
I keep telling them, like, they're like, oh, you got...
Or someone else.
Like, you got to come on the podcast again. He's like, yeah, I do, but he's always busy, so then, that always falls through.
He wants to be on pretty soon. He mentioned about us being on like doing a 3-person podcast pretty soon. So yeah.
I always talk to him. I'll run into him.
So you could.
What'd you say?
Oh, go ahead.
I
already know it's already more interesting.
I always just run into him and be like, dude, you got to be on the fucking podcast. Where are you at? And he's like, oh yeah, I know. I got to be on the podcast. Like, well, damn straight, get on that podcast. And then he never calls. And then I don't.
Why do you make him talk like an old grandpa? Like, oh,
I guess if I get on that podcast, you see, the SS is going to know where I am.
What's going to know?
The SS, they've been tracking me, you see, Billy. Tracking me for years. Well, it was like I was in The Great Escape, except for I actually fucking escaped.
He was one of the 3.
That's why when I look at the Great Escape movie, I'm like, I don't know if it should be called The Great Escape. Maybe like the sort of good escape. Because, out of 50 guys, only 3 of them survive.
An escape.
Yeah, survive and escape. Everybody else fucking dies. And it's kind of...
Well, not everyone dies.
I guess a couple of them get captured back.
A couple, I think of the 15 people that make it out of there. Because I think there's 40-something of the whole... 40-something of everybody in that camp. I think 15 make it out, and then 3 actually get away. And I know Steve McQueen is one of the guys to go back. He's one. Yeah,
well, he just takes him on the fucking motorcycle trip, and then they go, "Oh, you Steve McQueen, you get back in there now."
It was almost kind of like a Wile E. Coyote cartoon when Steve McQueen starts riding around. Just see some SS guy running with a net chasing after Steve McQueen,
dropping a giant anvil. Well, the weird thing with that movie too is it starts off kind of like as this fun sort of comedy movie. Where it's just like, oh, these wacky Americans are going to break out of prison. And then once it gets towards the end, though, then it gets all serious and stuff, and people fucking start dying and whatnot. And, boy, this prison escape wasn't nearly as fun as it sounded when Steve McQueen was talking about it.
This American had to come in and fuck it up for all of us, because I want to say it was a bunch of British dudes. It was a bunch of British dudes primarily, and Charles Bronson with a Russian accent.
Oh, the poor Russian guys that got like the shitty job. Like,
well, he got out of there. Charlie got out of there. Charles got out. But it was so weird here it was so awkward because Charles Bronson, you always think of him as this big tough guy. It was so awkward seeing Charles Bronson cry.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
It's kind of like whenever you see like 70s action stars cry, it's hard to watch. And it's not like you think any less of them. It's kind of like, it's like seeing any other, it's kind of like when you just see a grown man cry in general, it's pretty tough. But when you see like, someone you're used to seeing like take like punches to the face for breakfast, start to break down and cry, that's where it's like,
well, it's like when Clint Eastwood is.
You can do.
Clint Eastwood's in the Bridges of Madison County, there was a scene where he's supposed to cry, and he goes, "My fans wouldn't want to see me cry."
Yeah, because we saw it in Outlaw Josie Wales, and I don't know if Clint Eastwood actually knows how to cry. He knows how to
kind of just make this face that you can see that he's very upset.
And then he was kind of dry heaving. He was like.
Like a little bit,
And then if you look, he buries his face near the cross. Like, I don't want to, because he's lucky he directed that movie, because another director probably would have said, "Clint, we need another take." Like, I can't do it. I just can't cry. I don't have any tear ducts. This is how I was born.
He breathes out tears. They come out as kind of like mist. It's like before vaping, just like these mists, just like it's like okay? Like a little cloud comes out. Like, what was that? It was a tear
of awesomeness.
It's just weird to watch like that. Yeah, just any kind of very manly actor cry. Like, I'm trying to think. Have we ever seen Arnold Schwarzenegger cry in a movie?
Oh God, I don't know. I don't know if he would allow. I think he's one of those people. I don't know if he can cry. It's also like I've seen it several times by now, but it was also like in
Stallone. I guess you could say Stallone kind of does like in Rocky. He gets very emotional. Let's just at least say that.
He gets emotional, and I'm sure he cries, but it's more like
tears of joy.
Even kind of like even in First Blood. That's kind of like I'm so like taken when he breaks down at the end of First Blood. I am so taken by that scene. That's one of those cases, because usually it's like Clint Eastwood's crying. That's kind of weird. But in like First Blood, when he breaks down, like, they don't know what the fuck was there. They don't know. That whole scene.
Come back, that's just like nobody respects us. We don't get anything. That's one of the most marvelous scenes in almost any movie.
That's like one. People can say what they will about Stallone now in anything. I mean, I still like Stallone a lot. But that is like one of the best scenes I've seen in a movie. I don't give a fuck what anybody says. I love that scene right there. It's one of the most emotional, hard-hitting scenes I've seen. And that's one of those things that's so good, it doesn't really make me think like, Stallone's crying? But then again, that's kind of like pretty early on in his career as well. But
like
I think
that's like 12 years into his like acting career, if not more.
Well, it's like 12 years. I was like when he was, because I know most actors are around for a while before they actually start getting a lot of big roles. Was that like that was like his first or second big role in Rambo, wasn't it? Like, was it because that was Rocky?
Yeah,
after,
no, Rambo's after Rocky.
Rambo's after Rocky?
Yeah, Rambo's like 1981, and then Rocky I think is 77 or 76. And then before. I
don't know what the fuck I'm talking about.
The only movies he has prior to that, he does like Death Race 2000, which he's not the main character because David Carradine is. And then he's got a couple other ones, like that movie called Italian Stallion or something like that.
But it's probably before he was like a name, though. It's probably before
he was a name probably from Rocky and Rocky 2, and then Rambo comes up. So
yeah,
but
okay, I assume that like First Blood came before Rambo.
No, First Blood, yeah, it's definitely way later on, but I guess by now when you look back in retrospect, it's not that far off. It's almost like his second movie when you really think about it.
Yeah. When I think back on like we're talking about like when it's awkward watching like actors cry, one that really stuck out to me, and we talked about this before. I don't know if we talked about it on the podcast, but seeing Robert De Niro cry in Goodfellas, that was like really strange.
Oh yes, De Niro crying is that's another one of those ones. It's just weird.
They killed Nicky. He's making that
It's
noise.
almost like
Ray Liotta's backing off, like, whoa, what the fuck? Like, Henry, they killed Nicky. Just making this weird ass, like, almost this weird high pitched siren.
It's just, I don't know, it's like, you'll see like those kind of actors who just, I guess they just never been a crier ever in life, and then like they kind of have to call on some type of acting power, and it's just, they get this emotion charged up, and it just doesn't really have a proper way of releasing itself.
Martin Scorsese's Martin Scorsese just comes up to like, all right, Rob, we need you to cry for this scene. He's just like, how the fuck do I do that?
Like,
what, you never cried before? No, I don't fucking cry. What are you talking about?
what, you fucking cry? No, I'm Martin Scorsese. I don't cry either. I mean, but it's a movie. I mean, you gotta cry. I mean, that's what people do in the movies. I never fucking cried.
That's what.
What, you think Don Corleone cried? I didn't cry in Taxi Driver.
He might have cried in. I'm trying to go back to earlier stuff. He might have cried in Mean Streets. He might have. Yeah, I think he did cry in Mean Streets. He's like, I don't know what the fuck I'm gonna do, man. He's all crying to Harvey Keitel.
Was Harvey Keitel just standing there with his dick hanging out, just like, yeah, you cried.
Yeah, he was.
I don't know why. Harvey Keitel, he just has no problem getting naked, and I've seen him naked way too many times. That's all I have to say. Like, and it's not. I don't expect it. It just kind of happens in movies. I go, oh, dude, check it out. Harvey Keitel's in this movie, and the next thing you know, he's naked and he's 56 years old.
Yeah. That's a young Harvey Keitel.
Well, there's a young Harvey Keitel naked in Who's Knocking at My Door?
Yeah, and I think also in Mean Streets.
There's this one movie,
which that's basically the same movie. It's great. They're both great, but they're basically the same.
Well,
movie.
I will say, even though I love Martin Scorsese, I do feel like he sort of kind of remakes movies, and there's nothing wrong with it though. But they always do kind of like some movies. It's sort of like Raging Bull, Casino, and Goodfellas. They all have sort of the same basic structure story. You know, I mean, obviously they take place in different settings and different themes and whatnot, but that same kind of, I mean, they all have Robert De Niro, they all have Joe Pesci, you know.
Who's Knocking at My Door in Mean Streets? Thing with those is they're both about like gangsters that are just hanging out. Like the job, there's no real job. There is no real score or anything. Just gangsters hanging out. And Who's Knocking at My Door? He's kind of hanging out with this girl. Everyone's like, "What the fuck are you doing hanging out with this girl? Why don't you just come up out here with your boys?" And it's kind of struggling between that. And then there's a little bit of that in Mean Streets, but it's more of kind of like, you know, your friend Robert De Niro, he's just trouble. Why hanging out with that guy? This guy's going to cause you trouble, you know. So even though there still is a little bit of girl trouble in that one as well. So.
Yeah, good movies. Gotta like those. One thing that's kind of weird about, like, I think Who's Knocking at My Door is they just have that. What Doors song are they playing in it? But they play like,
I want to say this is the
end.
end.
The end? It's just like, and they play the entire thing, so it's like a 12-minute long scene, and you're just kind of. I just remember kind of going there. It's like, boy, this is what happens when you get too much freedom in like your movie making process.
And too much cocaine.
Yeah, literally. It's just like, I didn't expect to go through the whole thing. Not even Apocalypse Now doesn't go through the whole thing, but that's later on. But
there was this one movie I saw. It was It's a Film Festival one year, and I just want to say it was called The Director. And I guess I don't know how true it is. I mean, some stuff I know is true. It's just it was a short film about Martin Scorsese trying to make Taxi Driver and how they wanted him to cut off like the last 12 minutes of the movie. He says, "What the fuck are you talking about?" You know, because in like how the way they found around it was to like make the I'm not sure what the words are exactly. You're way better at the technical stuff than this, but heighten up the brightness a lot so the blood looks really fake. So they can find a way around it so the blood looks way brighter. That was their loophole around that.
It's probably the brightness, contrast, or color correction.
Yeah, it was color correction and all that to make the blood a lot brighter. And there's a scene where it opens up and Martin Scorsese is just sitting there. It just says like, director Martin Scorsese. You just see like this slow kind of 360 of just going around him like in this dark room, just chugging a bottle of Jack Daniels with this bum like scary music playing. They got him yelling at the producers, saying like, "This is my masterpiece. You're not going to cut this out," you know. And then
this is my Citizen Kane.
Yeah, exactly. And then who's the guy that did Scarface? What's his name again?
The director?
Director,
it is
Scarface.
Brian De Palma.
Brian De Palma at some point comes in like, look, Marty, you can do whatever you want. Just do what they say, and you can do whatever you want, man. You'll be the king of Hollywood. No one's gonna stop you. He's just like, oh, that right? That fucking right, Brian De Palma? Yeah, like kind of like this, like
does he fight him?
Robert De Niro freak out. He's just shaking him, saying, "You just keep on making fucking Hitchcock ripoffs, you motherfucker, man." You know,
Carrie making money.
Go back and. Yeah, exactly.
Because did he made Carrie? Did he make that movie Christine? The car movie?
I don't know.
The movie it's like the original Maximum Overdrive.
I don't know if he made that. He made like some of the he made Scarface.
Well,
he made Carlito's Way.
Those are all his later day movies.
He made like I think did he make Superman 3 and 4?
He didn't make any of those.
I thought he made somebody other than Donner. Didn't someone else like I thought someone with a connection to Scarface somehow was involved with Superman 3.
Well, they could have his connection, but it's not Brian De Palma. I'll tell you that for sure.
Wasn't Brian De Palma? Okay.
Or De Palma, not De Palmer.
De Palma, yeah. I have a can of Arnold Palmer across the room that I was looking at. So.
Brian De Palmer.
Just staring at me, just waiting for No, then there was But didn't he do the Untouchables?
Yeah, he did the Untouchables. That's like some of the big ones I always think of him. He did Mission Impossible. That was another big one. But yeah, maybe he just did Carrie. Okay, yeah, he definitely didn't do it. I'm looking at that right now. Oh, never mind then.
He did Carlito's Way, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. Somebody I thought did Superman 3 and 4. I don't remember who. Was it, it wasn't Linklater.
Somebody did, no, it wasn't any, well, Linklater wasn't around yet.
Linklater. No, I wasn't even thinking, I said Linklater, but I was thinking the guy who did the first two. I'm drawing a blank on his name as well.
Richard Donner.
I don't know why I said.
Well, Richard Donner did the first one, and then he did his own version. Or Richard Lester was the guy who did Superman 2, the other version, 3 and 4. Or maybe he didn't do 4, but I know he did 3. I think maybe he did 4. Fuck it, I don't know.
Maybe he did 4. He's just like, just take that off my name. Just take my name off. I just,
I like how my Superman, the Richard Donner cut of 2, you can watch like an intro where like Richard Donner's just sitting there, he's like, "Hello. I'm glad you came to watch my version of the movie and stuff. Unlike that other guy, I don't even know his name. I just forgot it." And it's fuck that guy. It's probably like, well, it's not really that guy's fault. It's more like Warner Brothers. Fuck that guy and fuck his version. So here, enjoy mine, the way that God intended.
Can he say the way God intended?
No, but it came across like that though. But it's funny. It's just like he's like, "I don't remember that guy's name." You mean the guy that's got the same first name as you?
If I remember his name, I'll get confused of which one of us is which. Yeah,
never mind. He didn't do number 4 though. That other guy, Richard Lester. Did you see that thing? There's these guys in London, or maybe not London, but England. They're making a biopic on the making of Clerks called Shooting Clerks. Which, if you type that into a search engine, you mostly just get a bunch of police reports of guys murdering clerks.
Kind of like whenever you type in, like, one of our cartoons, Spunkles the Rabbit, you just get a bunch of fucking gay porn sites.
Didn't think that one through first, but,
yeah.
We all know, many of us don't type those names in first, but, so they're doing...
That's why if everyone says, "Oh, what's your newest cartoon?" Like, I'm not going to tell you. I'm just going to show you myself because you're going to get a bunch of other.
I know. Sometimes I'd call it Wallaby the Rabbit, and then it would just kind of go into Spunkles. Because Wallaby just sounds like the safe name version of it. But
yeah, that'd be the sequel, Wallaby the Rabbit.
But yeah, there's that biopic. It's on Indiegogo, and they're trying to raise money for it right now. And I've been talking to those guys on Twitter or whatever, and kind of advertising it because I'm like, I love biopics and I love Clerks.
I love the story behind how.
Yeah, so it's just like that just sounds like a win-win. And then even the guys that got to play like Jay and Silent Bob, they look pretty good. They look almost just like it. I haven't.
Guys playing Kevin.
Jason Mewes. Well, yeah, I guess that's true because it's a biopic. It's not the remake, but no, it looks great though. As far as the fucking paragraphs that's explaining what they're doing is, it looks fantastic.
Well, I do want to see that. That's actually something. I mean, because you don't see very many like biopics on movies being made, so that's something right there that I think would be pretty interesting.
You know.
So I'm all up for that. I'll have to go check that out. I wouldn't mind throwing a few bucks.
I know when
away
I get
on
some
that.
money, I'm going to. At the moment, I've just been advertising it, and it looks like they're at $585 right now, with 51 days left to get, or 51 hours left. Oh fuck, they're not going to make that.
Oh,
Boy, maybe
Who
Indiegogo
knows?
doesn't give you as much time because I never used Indiegogo. It just seems confusing when there's too many.
maybe Kevin Smith will throw a few bucks. It's
Well,
his
Kevin
way.
Smith put out a little video promoting it and whatnot, even though I feel like I've promoted it more than Kevin Smith has, but
He's busy. He's got like 8 podcasts a day. He's doing.
that's true. But I mean, like, it's a movie based on him. Yeah, I don't know. That's pretty flattering. But I saw this, I was like, fuck.
I'm sure even if it doesn't make it on Indiegogo, I'm sure it will somehow get made. I'm sure there's other ways you can go about
I
it.
know. If I had some money, I'd throw
This
it
day and
down.
age.
I almost thought something would be, if you had just the extra cash, something that would be fun to do is just to pick movies like this that you feel are going to have some success if they make it. And you know, like, if you just donate a bunch of money to the ones where they give you the executive producer credit and all that stuff, if you built up enough executive producer credits, could you start stepping into, like, real movies after that point? Because well, it sounds weird, but think about it.
Just nudge past Christopher Nolan and Warner Brothers. Like,
Oh, well, he's been executive producer on 10 fucking movies. They're all marginally successful, but still. Because I was thinking about, like, would that be like like, I guess obviously it's a backdoor into a movie by spending $50,000, but
I guess kind of like, I mean, you threw some money down, but you are riding some tailcoats a little bit. But I guess it does make sense in some aspect.
I mean,
you know?
you're going for producer slots. That's really what you're doing. You're not going. It's not like you're riding in and be like, oh, okay, I backed all these movies. Now give me a fucking directing job.
Well, I know that. But maybe it would give you something in the door. Maybe not like so much of like who knows what it would be. I don't fucking know.
I don't know.
I am just out of it today.
That's okay. Every once in a while,
Yes.
I learned if I don't have my fucking drinks, all hell is going to break loose. And right about there is where the podcast craps out. Well, it was just filled with some repeats and beeps and doodads that just kept happening every 2 to 3 seconds, and nobody wants to listen to that now, especially when it's going over a bunch of dialogue. Must have been something to do with Skype and Ryan Dunigan's internet connection getting all shaky on us. But that's what happens when you put your trust not only into a recording device, but also one that's going across the online airwaves. So, you probably missed out on some good material, and I know there was some there, but at least there was a bit. And I guess this makes this the shortest podcast, wrapping around at a good old 21 minutes or so. But tune in next week, and hopefully that problem won't happen again, but you never know. Till then, I'm Spencer Scott Holmes. We will see you some other time. Thanks for listening to the Old Man Orange podcast. Check out our website at oldmanorange.com for even more podcasts, cartoons, videos, music, and more. Send us an email at oldmanorangepodcast@yahoo.com. Be sure to subscribe, share, rate, and review us on iTunes, Podomatic, or any of the other fine sites we might be located on. And if you want to help out even more, click on the Amazon or GameStop links on our webpage before you make any purchases there. It won't cost you a penny, but it sends us a little something our way. Thanks again, and tune in next week for more Old Man Orange Podcast.